"Get out of my house, you useless piece of trash." Those were the last words I heard from my father before he shoved me out the front door with an old backpack and $20 in my pocket. I was 15 years old. My name is Daniel. I grew up in a hell most people can't imagine. My father was a violent alcoholic. My mother was the silent accomplice who looked away while he beat me with belts, cables, whatever he could grab. It wasn't discipline. It was pure hate. They called me failure, burden, mistake. By 13, I was already sleeping locked in the basement to fix my attitude. That stormy night when they kicked me out, I walked for 3 days with no idea where to go. I slept on benches, ate from dumpsters, stole bread from bakeries. I thought about killing myself more times than I can count. But I survived. At 16, I faked some documents to get a job in construction. Bricks by day, random side jobs by night. I saved every cent. When I was 19, I met Mrs. Clara, a widow who ran a cheap boarding house. She saw me skinny, exhausted, and gave me a room in exchange for fixing things around her house. "Son, God doesn't abandon those who are fighting alone," she told me. With her help, I got into university. Civil engineering. Scholarships, night shifts, barely any sleep. But in my 4th semester, something happened. Clara got very sick. I refused to become another burden in someone's life. I dropped out and enlisted in the army. That's where I was really born. The army gave me discipline, brothers, purpose. I moved up fast, sergeant at 25, lieutenant at 28. I specialized in military logistics. Decent pay, earned respect. At 30, I met Valeria, the woman who became my wife. Teacher, kind, and strong. We married without fancy stuff. We bought a modest house. Weekend trips. We were happy. 8 years of quiet, stable peace. Until the envelope arrived. One morning, in uniform, coffee in hand, the mailman dropped a letter from the court. My hands were steady, until I opened it. Legal notice, parental support claim filed by biological parents. My parents. After 18 years of no contact. They were demanding financial support. They claimed economic need, filial duty, emotional abandonment. Rage blurred my vision. I ripped the letter in pieces. Valeria found me locked in the bathroom, breathing like I'd just run a marathon. "What's going on, honey?" I showed her the shredded pages. She cried with me. That night we didn't sleep. We talked until sunrise. "I'm quitting the army," I said. "We leave the country. US, Canada, anywhere. I'd rather be a homeless man in another country than pay a cent to those monsters." Valeria hugged me tight. "No. We fight this. They don't get to do this to you again." But the harassment started anyway. Their lawyers called non-stop. Letters, threats, even local reporters poking around. Soldier refuses to help his sick parents. My commanding officer called me in. "Lieutenant, this is damaging the institution's image. Can we support you somehow?" "I want a public hearing," I answered. "I want everyone to see who they really are." Preparing for that trial felt like going to war all over again. I hired the best lawyer I could afford. His name was Herrera. Quiet man, sharp eyes. "Daniel, they're going to play innocent victims," he said. "You have to be ready to expose everything. Are you willing to open it all up?" All of it, I said. I'd rather the world know what happened than keep carrying this alone. We built the case like a military operation. Herrera dug up childhood medical records, old x-rays of fractured ribs, AR notes calling it accidental falls that never were. We found 3 neighbors who remembered my screams, the fights, the times they saw me sleeping outside my own house. We tracked down a former teacher who, when I was 12, had filed a report for suspected abuse that the authorities simply ignored. Each witness was a bullet in the chamber. At home, the tension was suffocating. Valeria tried to be strong, but more than once I found her crying quietly in the kitchen. "I don't want them to break you again," she said. "I'm scared this will destroy you." "They already destroyed me once," I answered. "I'm not running this time." Meanwhile, my parents' lawyers were building their circus. We received a letter describing them as elderly, sick parents abandoned by an ungrateful, emotionally distant son. Attached, photos of my father in a wheelchair, my mother clutching a rosary in front of a modest house. If I didn't know the truth, I might have believed it too. The day of the preliminary hearing, I saw them for the first time in almost 20 years. They walked in arm, slowly, as if life had beaten them harder than they ever beat me. My father had a cane. My mother wore a headscarf. When she saw me, she started crying instantly. "My baby," she whispered, reaching her hand out. Something broke inside me, but not the way they hoped. "Don't call me that," I said, quietly. "You threw me out like trash." Their lawyer, expensive suit and rehearsed smile, got straight to business. "Mr. Daniel, your parents are simply asking for a modest pension, proportional to your military salary. The law is clear, children must support parents in need." My jaw clenched. "And what does the law say about beating a child until he can't breathe?" I shot back. "About throwing him out at 15. The lawyer looked at me like I was being dramatic. "We're not here to debate childhood resentments, but present-day responsibilities." Herrera placed a hand on my shoulder. "Easy. Our battle is in the courtroom, not the hallway." That night, I exploded. "It's not fair, Valeria," I yelled. "They broke me, and now the system gives them tools to keep doing it." "I know," she answered. "But now you also have tools. Back then you didn't." She grabbed my face, made me look at her. "Look where you are, your own house, rank in the army, a life you built with your own hands. They don't deserve a single piece of that. But if you don't fight, it's like you're agreeing with them." Once again, she was right. The main trial date got closer. That morning, the sky was gray. I put on my uniform, not out of pride, but as armor. Every medal on my chest was a reminder, I was not that helpless kid anymore. The courtroom was packed. Distant relatives, curious neighbors, reporters. Apparently, "Soldier refuses to support sick parents" was a good headline. When the judge entered, the noise died. An older man, tired eyes but firm voice. "Case number 4587, parents suing son for parental support," the clerk read. Their lawyer spoke first, painting a perfect picture. "My clients are elderly, sick, without resources. Their only son, Daniel, is a stable military officer with sufficient income who has coldly refused to help." At one point he said, "We cannot allow personal resentment to destroy such a sacred principle as a child's duty toward the ones who gave him life." Those words lit a fire in me. The ones who gave me life. Yes, they gave it to me. And they almost took it away. Then it was our turn. Herrera stood up, calm. Your Honor, before we talk about duties, let's talk about facts. And that's when the real battle began. Herrera presented photos of my childhood injuries, ER records, the teacher's report about suspected abuse. He called a neighbor who, with a shaking voice, described nights hearing me screaming, seeing me sleeping outside because my father wouldn't let him in. An elderly lady testified. I saw his father hit him with a belt. One time I truly thought the boy was dead. The whole courtroom was silent. My mother sobbed. My father stared at the floor, gripping his cane. Their lawyer tried to spin it. Your Honor, we're talking about events decades ago. What matters now is my client's current situation, not past mistakes. Herrera didn't flinch. Mistakes are human. But this is not about mistakes. This is about a pattern of systematic abuse and expelling a minor from his home. My client didn't leave. He was thrown out. The judge turned to me. Mr. Daniel, would you like to testify? I swallowed hard and stood up. My legs shook, but I walked forward. I knew what I said next wouldn't just shape the ruling. It would shape the rest of my life. Yes, Your Honor. I want to speak. I walked to the front, looked at them, not as my parents, but as the people who broke me. Your Honor, I began, my name is Daniel, and yes, I am the biological son of those two people. I paused. They say I owe them something. That because they are my parents, I'm obligated to support them. That my childish resentment can't be above the law. I looked straight at the judge. Let me tell you exactly what they're asking me to ignore. And I opened the box I'd kept locked my whole life. I told them about the screaming, the nights in the basement, the belt, the time my father pinned me against the wall by the neck because I broke a glass. I explained how my mother iced my bruises, not out of love, but so they'd show less. I told them how they kicked me out at 15, how I slept on the street, how years went by without a single call, message, nothing. You could have heard a pin drop. I didn't have parents, I said. I had jailers. I had executioners. I felt Valeria's presence behind me, holding me up without touching me. I became a man on my own. I worked, studied, broke my body to make it. I joined the army because I had nothing left to lose. I fought for a country that never fought for me. I turned to look at them. My mother didn't dare meet my eyes. My father's jaw was clenched. And now, years later, when they see I'm okay, that I have a home, a decent job, a stable life, they show up and say it's my duty to support them. Leaned into the microphone. I have no problem helping an elderly person in need. I've seen soldiers lose limbs, kids with no one. I'd help them without thinking. Took a breath. But the people who tried to destroy me, who threw me out like garbage. I don't owe them anything. Not respect, not money, not care. Looked back at the judge. You can legally force me to pay them, Your Honor. But you cannot force me to call them parents. Because being a parent isn't automatic. It's a job. And they quit a long time ago. My hands were shaking, but my voice didn't crack. The only family I recognize is the one I built with my own hands. The people who picked me up when I was in the dirt. Those two, I pointed at them, were my pain, not my home. I finished with something I'd carried inside for years. If the law says I owe them something for giving me life, then the law is incomplete. Because giving life is not just pushing someone into this world. It's not trying to take it away every single day after. A low murmur ran through the courtroom. The judge raised his hand for silence. "Anything else you wish to add, Mr. Daniel?" he asked. I looked at them one last time. "Just one thing," I said. "Today I'm not here as their son. I'm here as living evidence of what they did. And whatever happens, I will not let them live off me." I walked back to my seat. Valeria grabbed my hand, tears in her eyes but a small, proud smile on her face. The judge took his time. He went through the files again, looked at the lawyers, at my parents, then at me. Finally, he spoke. "This court has heard two stories today," the judge began. "The story of two elderly parents asking for help, and the story of a son who survived those same parents." He took off his glasses, looked tired but determined. "The law indeed states that children must support parents in need. But the law also recognizes abandonment, abuse, and the effective loss of parental responsibility, even if it was never processed on paper." He leaned forward, eyes on my parents. "You did not just make mistakes. You systematically abused your child and threw him out of the house while he was still a minor. You walked away from the most basic duty of being parents." Silence. Heavy. "This court will not reward that behavior." His voice rang through the room. "The claim for parental support is dismissed in full. Mr. Daniel has no legal obligation to provide financial assistance or care to the plaintiffs." Their lawyer jumped up, outraged. "Your Honor, this sets a dangerous precedent." "What's truly dangerous," the judge cut him off, raising his voice for the first time, "is forcing a victim to sustain their abusers just because they share blood." He looked straight at my parents. "You don't want a son. You want an insurance policy. And that has no place in this courtroom." My mother broke down crying. "What's going to happen to us now?" she sobbed. The judge sighed. "For the first time, you will have to live with the consequences of your actions." Gavel. Case closed. I walked out of that courtroom with weak legs, like I'd just left a battlefield. Reporters tried to swarm me, but Herrera blocked them. Valeria hugged me so hard I almost couldn't breathe. "You won," she whispered. "No," I said. "For the first time. I just didn't lose." As we went down the stairs, I heard my father's voice one last time. "Ungrateful bastard. I wish you'd never been born." I turned slowly. "Me too," I answered. "But since I was, at least I learned how to live without you." His eyes filled with something I had never seen in him, fear. I turned around and kept walking. That night, at home, no uniform, no lawyers, no judge, just me, my wife, and the sound of rain outside. We sat in silence for a while. "What now?" Valeria asked. I thought about quitting the army, moving to another country, starting over where no one knew my story. "Now," I said, "we live. Without shadows. Without debts we never chose." I looked at my hands, full of old scars and new calluses. "I didn't defeat them," I continued. "I proved to myself that I'm not what they tried to turn me into." Today, when someone tells me, "You must honor your father and mother," I take a deep breath before I answer. I tell them. Honor the ones who cared for you, not the ones who destroyed you. Blood doesn't obligate. Abuse doesn't create a debt. My parents threw me out at 15 and tried to walk back into my life through the front door, holding a lawsuit. The only thing they got was something they never expected. A judge, in front of everyone, saying what I always knew deep down. Being a parent is not a title, it's a job. And they quit a long time ago. That day, I stopped being the son who owed them something. And became the man who owes them nothing.